Okay, we come to fitting the extra detailing parts supplied. I'm really pleased to see that Heljan fitted all the buffer beam details, which I hate doing normally. So, okay, what you should have in your kit is 2 sandboxes and then 3 brake shoes for each side. Now, they are different, so if you lay them out first to make sure you've got them, and then you should actually have the brake rodding that clips underneath. As well as the braking gear, you also got the head codes that will need to be cut out and fit into the lenses. Unfortunately, Heljan have used the bright LED again, so it may be cool for a bit of paint to dull it down a little bit. Now, in order to gain access to the motor area and to put the head codes on, you're going to need to pull the cab area off according to the instructions on Heljan. I've had a devil's own job with it. What you need is to first of all start the opening with a scalpel and then insert a fairly fine screwdriver and lever a little bit. Now bear in mind you're levering against the plastic frame where the steps are mounted, but eventually the cab will relent and come away and you can slide it up. Now first of all, there's a horn cowling that comes off on the short nose end, and you'll also see that the cowling is loose on the long nose end, so there it goes. You have to keep those to one side safely. You then need to release these screws to gain access. Now once you've released the screws, the problem you're going to find is that when you're trying to remove the bonnets, the lugs that are located just behind the driving cab details lock behind that. It's the same for both bonnets. Okay, the only way round the locking lug problem, certainly at the long bonnet end, is to actually break the adhesive that Heljan have used to remove that bulkhead or cab detail. The other one, if you carefully pull both lugs back there, you can then slide the nose end up, and so we can now get at the areas that we want to work on. Also note that the screws that secure the bonnets were done up extremely tightly. Now, as the normal place you want to grip the loco is at its midway, it means you're going to squeeze these very vulnerable steps in, so be careful of that as well. Now the actual head code fitting is even more fiddly. What you have is once you pop this out, and it pops out in towards the loco mechanism, so you can't, as on other Heljan locos, pop it out from the front with a scalpel. You've got to go inside to do it, which is a real pain. Now an alternative approach to the head code is, instead of cutting out the panels and fitting them inside the glass, place the lens over your chosen head code set, and then once you've done this, using a scalpel, trim it down to the exact same size as the glass, and this will prevent the LED light shining through the glass too much, so it will save you if you haven't got any black paint to hand. That's what I'm going to do in this case, and I'm going to attach the paper head code to the back of the lens using some Pritt stick. Just use a cocktail stick and take a small amount off and apply it to the white area of the head code panel. This once you've cut it to the required size. And then just take the lens, line it up and press down. Whilst the adhesive is wet, you've got an opportunity to slide it around. It gives it the depth as well that head code panels did have. Make sure the lens is pressed well back. Now when we come to reassembly, I really suggest that instead of using anything else, just use a bit of the old prick glue again to hold that control panel back in place, unless you think your engine's going to be being particularly vibrated anyway. That should be sufficient once the cab's back in place. Gives you a chance to see the cab details as well. Now sadly, after reassembly, I've been unable to stop this gap appearing under the cab. It's the same on both sides. It's as if the plastic is bent down a little bit, and I suspect that Heljan had used a drop of glue to hold that in place, which is why the cab was so hard to remove in the first place. Now it actually will pull off quite easily. Okay, just a revisiting. You notice that the two securing screws here through the cab go into just one end. I found that the sag was occurring here, allowing this plastic to hang down, which was giving the gap under the cab. So if you loosen the screws off, push that down and add a dab of super glue under each side, do the screws back up and pinch it together for a moment, the cab now fits without the gap under the floor. When trimming the sandboxes, make sure to remove all the moulding sprues. This one is correctly set up now. Don't spend time trying to get it to fit with these in place, which I did. Okay, that's all the brake gear fitted. Fairly fiddly, but not too bad really. The location holes do seem to fit the lugs. Super glue was used, and just be careful of the cross members on the puller rods, because they are extremely brittle, as are the pipes on the end of the buffer beam. Extremely brittle, be careful of them. I don't see them lasting all that long, to be honest. Just fit the couplings. Another little annoyance, they've got a swivelling bar, but once you put the couplings through, the slot in the buffer beam doesn't allow any swivel.